Now, Israel has rejected the U.S.-backed proposal for a ceasefire with Hezbollah, even as Washington insisted the truce plan had been coordinated with Israel. The United States and allies issued a joint call for a 21-day halt in fighting in Lebanon after Israeli airstrikes targeting the Iran-backed group killed hundreds and displaced tens of thousands this week. The White House said that the ceasefire offer had been coordinated with Israel before it was announced.
Israel was aware of this statement, and now what I can tell you right now, we are having continued discussions that is happening with our teams in New York, and I'm not going to get into private diplomatic engagement, but I can assure you these conversations are continuing.
But landing in the U.S. to address the UN General Assembly, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said his government has not responded to the proposal. He said he has ordered the military to continue fighting with full force against Hezbollah until all goals are achieved.
During the flight, I gave approval for the elimination of the head of the UAV unit and other things, and he was eliminated. Our policy is clear. We are continuing to strike Hezbollah with full force, and we will not stop until we reach all our goals. Chief among them, the return of the residents of the north securely to their homes.
Netanyahu's statement came hours after Israel's National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir threatened to withdraw the support of his Otzma Yehudit party from the coalition government if he agreed to a ceasefire in Lebanon. Following a meeting with lawmakers from his far-right party, Ben-Gvir argued that pausing the fighting will convey weakness, endanger the security of Israeli citizens, and prove that Israel did not intend to win. Meanwhile, French President Emmanuel Macron said it will be a mistake for Israeli Prime Minister to refuse a ceasefire in Lebanon and that he will have to take responsibility for a regional escalation. He noted that the plan supported by the U.S. and the EU had been prepared with Netanyahu himself.
Et je pense que ce serait une faute de la part du Premier ministre de la refuser parce qu'il prendrait la responsabilité d'une escalade régionale. Évidemment, de nouvelles victimes civiles au Liban, mais une escalade bien au-delà que nul ne maîtriserait.
On the other hand, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas urged the UN General Assembly to stop the war between Israel and Hamas, saying Israel had almost entirely destroyed Gaza and it was no longer fit for life. He added that the Palestinian Authority should exercise its full jurisdiction on the Gaza Strip and all border crossings, including Rafah.
أوقفوا قتل الأطفال والنساء، أوقفوا حرب الإبادة، أوقفوا إرسال السلاح لإسرائيل. لا يمكن لهذا الجنون أن يستمر. إن العالم بأسره يتحمل المسؤولية.
Furthermore, hundreds of pro-Palestinian protesters gathered in New York and walked towards the United Nations headquarters on Thursday ahead of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's address at the United Nations. The protesters called him a war criminal and demanded him to be jailed.
We're here to say that, the war criminal Netanyahu is not welcome here. He's been presiding over a genocide that's killed over 40,000 Palestinians, 15,000 of them children, and probably the death count is much, much higher. Meanwhile, the UN is welcoming him with open arms.
Earlier, U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders introduced a legislation to block arms sales to Israel. The joint resolutions of disapproval will prevent the transfer of more than $20 billion in offensive weapons to Israel. The Senate will vote on the resolutions when lawmakers reconvene in November. Sanders accused Israel of waging an all-out war against the Palestinian people. And for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report. Listen.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has rejected a proposed 20-day ceasefire with Lebanon despite agreeing to it with the Biden administration. This sudden U-turn has raised tensions with the United States and also sparked speculations and questions about the Prime Minister's true intentions. Now, the proposed ceasefire backed by the United States, France, and other Western and Arab countries was aimed at de-escalating the tension between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. But according to reports, Netanyahu may have had a change of heart after far-right elements within his own government and Israeli opposition figures publicly opposed this possible truce deal. But amidst the crisis on Capitol Hill, Senator Bernie Sanders introduced a resolution called Resolutions of Disapproval to block the sale of over $20 billion of offensive U.S. weaponry to Israel. Sanders emphasized that sending more weapons to Israel would be immoral and illegal, as Israel has violated U.S. and international law regulating the use of American weaponry. The Senate will vote on Sanders' resolution in November. Here in New York, the U.S. has confirmed consultations with Israel, but details remain unclear. We do know Netanyahu's aide, Ron Dermer, is meeting with U.S. officials on the sidelines of the UNGA. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.